I am not dead yet. I can dance and I can sing. I am not dead yet. I can do the Highland thing. I am not dead yet.
He needed to tell those independents who are tired of George Bush what he specifically would do differently as president from George Bush. He didn't do a bit of it.
This speech you're giving what for John McCain?
A D.
George Bush was mentioned once in this speech.
This is not a moment when you give a stump speech.
It set out the right theme, reform, but the policy was the problem.
Drill new wells offshore.
The policy in the speech was rather typical.
I know how the military works.
Pretty disappointing.
People go to Washington to work for themselves and not for you.
About the only thing that you could compare this speech to last week probably was the playing of Earth, Wind, and Fire in September. I mean, that was it.
It didn't do a lot of outreach to moderates and independents.
I didn't quite understand this whole soft tone of John McCain. I really thought he was going to bring a lot more passion.
You are a tough grader.
I want to talk about his assertive effort to try to separate himself from the current Republican Party.
And I think if you're an independent at home and you think this country needs to go in a new direction, you did not hear anything about that from John McCain.
Howard, he did. Look.
He talked about issues like drilling and school choice, which was really speaking to the converted.
Economy. The information.
George Bush is the least popular president we've had since World War II. It's a difficult position to be in, but he needed to come into this room and speak over the heads of this crowd to the American audience who are tired of George Bush, and they want to know, what specifically are you going to do different? Not just what are you going to do, but what are you going to do differently than George Bush has done? And he didn't do it.
Many Americans needed to hear from this speech something they've never heard from Republicans before. And in reality, a lot of the policy they've heard from Republicans before.
I know how the world works.
We all know he's not, the greatest guy off a teleprompter. Talked about his maverick streak.
What differentiates John McCain from Barack Obama?
Well, we have two mavericks, and makes me proud to be a Republican.
Was it the speech of a maverick?
It was the speech of someone who talked about being a past maverick.
He seemed to be lacking the passion that I thought he was going to bring tonight.
We're going to help workers who've lost a job that won't come back find a new one that won't go away.
It was missing that human element. I just thought that, and this is a different moment. This is not a stump speech. This is not a speech, frankly, you give in front of some other particular group. This is a defining moment, and I just thought he was going to bring a lot more than what he brought.
If you're at home and you want to know, what is he going to do differently, he didn't tell you.
Well, he talked a great deal about change and how he's going to change things. He also talked, as has been mentioned before by the panel, he used the word fight and fight for you 2-3 dozen times.
Right. It sounded a little bit like a Hillary Clinton speech. Hillary Clinton used to use that word fight an awful lot.
It worked for her for a while.
For a while.
I just sort of thought John McCain tonight was just sort of this one way all throughout.
And when I'm president, they will.
This crowd tried to bring him up. I mean, they certainly cheered and yelled. I just thought John McCain was going to bring a little bit more oomph.
Well, now he's dead.